Hi there everyone, welcome along to another video here with me, Jenny Kirk. It's great to see you, I hope I find you well, and today this video is in answer to all the people who keep asking me what are my top recommendations for tools. So it's a top 5 video, but not a top 5 as we've done before. We're going to be focusing in on those essential tools that, well, I certainly have, and I know a lot of other people have in their toolbox as a recommendation to other people. So I've picked out 5 things which I think are my top 5 here, and I'm going to share those with you in association with our channel sponsor, Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts and are eminently compatible with all makes, models, scales and gauges of model rail locomotives. So come with me, I'm looking forward to showing you my top 5 pick. Tools can quite often be quite a personal choice. It all depends on what your major areas of modelling are. I guess people who are into scratch building locomotives would have a different modeller's toolbox to those who really like to major on track laying or the electronics or scenery building. But for me, well, you've seen Weir Yard, you've seen what I've constructed up here, you've also seen some of the previous projects. And there are certain tools which come up again and again in my toolbox, and really I'm just so glad that they are there. So without further ado, here is my top 5. In number 5, I've picked a Stanley knife. I could also put a box cutter in there. They do essentially the same purpose. Now what I would say about these is that the box cutters, they tend to be fairly cheap and disposable. The blades you can snap off when they go blunt and there's a new bit. But once all the blades are used up, it's done and dusted, you have to buy a completely new thing. So actually, it's worth paying that little bit extra for one of these, like a Stanley knife. They're ergonomic, so they're comfortable to use over long extended periods. You don't end up getting blisters as well, but they give you much better control over the work items that you're working on. And these are great for cutting card kits, plastic, all manner of things. And what I will say is that do keep an eye on the blades. In these in particular, the blades are exchangeable. You can just buy spare blades. Easy to get inside these things, to open them up just like this, and then the blade itself is sat at the end, and this is a disposable item. And it's quite important because if you let that blade go blunt, and it will go blunt even if you're just cutting paper and card, then you get a much less neat edge on your work that you're doing, and you end up, it looks more like it's been torn than actually cut. It's very difficult to get sharp straight lines, so that's really important. But I use this so much for a wide variety of jobs that I'm really happy to put this in to my list at number 5. At number 4, I wouldn't say I'm cheating too much here, but what I do have is 2 items. These kind of go together. I've got a pair of Needlenose Pliers, really great for manipulating a whole host of things, holding things, that kind of thing. But I'm also adding in these. They're heavy duty wire cutters. These are the kind of thing that an electrician would use. This particular pair was actually bought for about £2 in a well-known supermarket, and actually it's a great source of what are actually cheap but high quality tools for this kind of job. At that kind of money, these have so far been pretty much bulletproof, and they're great for their intended purpose of stripping wire. And that's where the Needlenose Pliers come in, because you can hold the end of the wire and then very carefully strip the end without putting any stress back on solder joints or the rest of the model. So really great used in combination. The other thing about these is I find them better than purpose-made track cutters. I know a lot of people talk about these, and I find them actually quite flimsy. I've used them in the past and they have broken. Generally the jaws just snap off, and you don't want that when you're paying a lot of money for these things. That is a great disappointment. I have never had a pair of these break, and they are really good for cutting track. You can cut them just as well as you can with a set of track cutters, but other jobs such as cutting the pins on Pico PL10E point motors, which is a hardened steel, they will destroy track cutters, believe me. Ask me how I know, that's how I lost one of my pairs. But these will nibble their way through and won't be any the worse for wear for that job. So for me, this pair of Needlenose pliers and heavy duty wire snippers, these are essential in any toolbox. For number 3, I had to think long and hard. There's a lot of tools that just missed out on this list, but for me, I do keep finding myself coming back time and time again to the humble, soft bristled paintbrush. Now these, again, you can buy them very cheaply from places like Hobbycraft are really good for a big pack with lots of different ones, but I really like the flat wide ones like this. You don't need to spend a lot of money for the kind of rolls that you employ it on a model rail environment, but I've used this brush from everything, from laying ballast, where it's just tamping that ballast into place. Very therapeutic job, I find. I know a lot of people don't like it, but if you've got a soft bristle brush like this, it is actually quite good at doing that. Also painting. A lot of the scenery I use oodles and oodles of brown emulsion paint as the base layer, and I actually slap it on with a brush just like this. As long as you keep them clean, it's water-based paint, everything is grand. But the major job that I find that these are indispensable for is actually cleaning locomotives and rolling stock. They do attract dust, and with all of that great detail that you see on models, it can be quite difficult to clean them. Now, I've seen a lot of people talk about using a blusher brush, and actually, yes, I do have blusher brushes. I'm a girl, I wear makeup from time to time, but I don't think they're quite as good as one of these for really getting into those nooks and crannies, and also, more importantly, not running the risk of breaking off detail on a model. So I have no hesitation to put the humble soft bristled paintbrush in at number 3 for its versatility and the wide range of different tasks that you can employ it for. Now at number 2, again, I had to think long and hard, but there's one particular small, humble item of toolage that I do keep coming back to over and over again for lots of different tasks, and that is a syringe. Now you can buy these from people such as Deluxe Materials that sell them in a pack, or you can get them from, I guess if you go to a pharmacy and explain, of course, why you want them, you can buy these. They're the same syringes that hospitals, doctors and nurses use without the hypodermic on. And I guess you can get them from there as well. And the other source that I've had for these very, very cheaply is if you've got an inkjet printer and you buy one of those cheap ink refill kits, because of course, as we all know, inkjet printer ink is of course the most expensive liquid known to man. So it makes sense to try and cut costs. And they come with a really great little syringe and quite a thick tube actually, which is really useful for some of the other tasks that you can put these to. So do save those if you get hold of them. But I've got loads of them knocking about and I use them for all manner of tasks. I suppose the biggie is when you're laying ballast, when you apply that watered down PVA glue mix, then I always apply it with one of these syringe, and it gives you a really nice, accurate, slow pouring way of getting that glue in and getting it to soak through the ballast. And with that level of control, you then much less risk of washing that ballast into weird patterns if you apply it too quickly. Once your layout is all complete and up and running, these still have a really useful purpose. And as you can see, I've got one of the fine applicator needles. These come in the deluxe materials pack, and I use these for very, very accurately applying lubrication oil during maintenance of not just locomotives but also rolling stock. You can get right into those needle point bearings, and a tiny drop of oil really does make a massive difference to the free running of your wagons and rolling stock, and it is an essential part of a maintenance routine for any model railway, stopping things like as simple as connecting rods wearing out. Without any oil, they will wear out at the pins where they attach to the wheels. And of course, using the syringe, you can very accurately control the flow of that oil, and you don't over oil. Now, over oiling can be devastating, not least because you get oil on your track, and that really does affect traction badly. But also, if that oil gets onto the paint finish, you can end up, it can sometimes lift transfers, tempo printing, and just generally make a model look weird. And it is quite difficult to clean oil off if you get it onto that finish. If you get it into the commutator on the motor as well, that can signal the end of that motor. Electric motors do not like oil in the commutator because it really does mess them up good and proper. So a syringe is the perfect tool to be able to alleviate some of those problems. So that for me is my number 2 choice. For number 1, I thought long and hard, and there's a particular tool that I do keep coming back to over and over again, and you will have seen these actually in all of my review videos pretty much, because they are so useful for maintenance of locomotives and rolling stock, but also during the building process. I use these for so many different tasks. The flathead ones, and you're beginning to realise what I'm talking about here, are great for levering things, for pushing things into tiny crevices, and for generally just scraping bits of crud out of the track, especially on check rails of points. Yes, that's right. It's my jeweler's screwdriver set. Again, really quite cheap to purchase these from, supermarkets, hardware stores. There's so many different places that you can pick these up easily and cheaply, and they come in a variety of sets. They can have more or less screwdrivers, but certainly they all have the same basic design, and they really are indispensable. I couldn't be without these for everyday running of my models, but also during the building and maintenance process of the track itself. These are totally essential. So I've got no hesitation of putting these in my number 1 recommendation slot. If you don't have any of these in your toolbox, then really your toolbox is definitely not complete. And that there is my top 5 recommendations. I hope you really enjoyed that video and found it really informative. And if you don't agree with me, leave a comment down below. If you do agree with me, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And also, if you think that there's a tool which I missed out that you would personally place in your top 5, let me know about it. Put it in the comments down below and let other modelers as well see what you recommend for their toolbox. Also, don't forget that you can head on over to Patreon if you want to help support the channel, continue to make the videos that you want to see, and always really grateful for any support that you can give. Don't forget as well, like this video, share it too, let other people know about the great content that we are doing, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. You'll be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. But until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, so you take great care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian Smith, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Trish Bits, Sparky 107, George Botterini, and Andy Finch. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.